Hello, I'm Diane, and I'm the founder of Truce, and I'm welcoming you back to Truce Talks. Today I'm talking with Joy Kolin. She and I met literally online through a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours in Washington, D.C. And Ashley, our friend, said, "You're really going to love talking to her. She is a fascinating person." Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We talked about everything going on in her world, which is really quite remarkable. She runs a foundation that she self-funds, and she has a website that tells you about the grants that she gives, and it showcases the beautiful artwork done by women primarily in North Africa where she has worked. Sit back and enjoy our conversation, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed having it. Joy, it is so delightful to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on Truce Talks.
Thank you, Diane, for having me. I'm super excited.
You are our furthest away person. You're in Washington, D.C.?
No, I'm in
Where?
Boston,
You're in Boston.
even further,
Yeah, I love Boston. Um,
not in the winter.
no, not in the winter, not at all. And I have been there winter, and I've been there in the summer. And winter, no. I'm a desert rat.
I
You know.
actually used to live in Tucson.
Really?
Yeah, a
What were
long
you
time
doing?
ago.
What were you doing in Tucson?
Well, my dad was working there. So, yeah, we lived there in the early 80s.
Wow. Tucson's
Yeah,
probably changed a lot. You might not recognize it.
I'm sure. I'm
But
sure.
what I want to know, so you weren't raised in Tucson. Where were you raised?
So, I'm what you would call a Texrali. I'm half Texan, half Israeli. We say like shalom y'all and stuff like that, and have hummus with jalapenos and whatnot. So
Nice.
my father is the Texas side and my mom is the Israeli side. So I was born actually in Galveston, Texas, and moved around Texas. I know it's very weird. Everybody's like, "You're a Texan, really?" Um, and then we moved to Arizona, and then when I was 12, actually, we moved to Israel. Um, to be closer to my mom's family. And so I spent my formative years actually in Israel, and I did the army there too.
Did you
And
really? Wow.
yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty like international from the get-go because
Right.
I kind of always knew that there were like other countries and whatnot. So I was always interested in traveling and stuff like that. So yeah, so then I came back to the US actually for grad school. I did undergrad also in Israel, but I studied international relations both for my undergrad and grad studies and studied different languages and stuff. So uh, but I've been back in the US now for 20 something years now. So I think most of my life I actually lived in the US, but a good part in Israel. And my parents still live in Israel. And so I'm completely bilingual. I mean, we speak Hebrew at home.
I noticed you speak four languages, including English.
Well, my
Wow.
Arabic now is like pretty dicey. I mean, I can order stuff in a restaurant and go to the market and haggle, but more than that, it'll be a little hard.
Um, I'm interested in the development work you did in Africa. You spent a lot of time in Africa, as did Ashley, as did your friend Ashley. Um, and that really seems to have shaped you tremendously in terms of, number one, your artistic eye.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that. But what was that like? You coming, where were you coming for the first time you went to Africa?
So let me just go back a little bit. So in my career trajectory,
Mhm.
Africa was not even on the map, literally, at all. Like what I wanted to do actually was continue work that I was doing in Israel with Palestinians and Jordanians, Egyptians, and kind of with the peace process there. And that's
Yeah.
why I did my graduate studies with a focus on conflict management. I went to Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. And so I focused on conflict management because I was thinking, so naive of me, like the second Intifada started, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll just wait 2 years, grad school will end, and then I'll come back and I can do peace stuff. Well, I'm still waiting 20 years later, and it's not
Yeah.
happening. So I decided to kind of do a shift a little bit in my career and stay in the US, but still do things related to international development. So then I focused actually on democracy and governance projects in the Middle East. And I worked, because I speak French and some Arabic, I worked mostly in North Africa. So that was like the Africa for me was more North Africa, which is very different than sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
And I thought actually that's where my comfort zone was, and I loved it. But you know, life happens, and I got married, and my husband works in biotech. He doesn't work in international development, and he got a great job in Massachusetts. So we moved to Massachusetts, and I still wanted to stay in this field, but there's not as much. So we were living in DC, sorry. So when we moved to Massachusetts, the field of international development is nearly as large as in DC, and the pickings were kind of slim into what I could continue to do. So I kind of ended up by chance in a public health, international public health organization. And that's how, so the needs in public health are much more directed towards Africa. And so that was the first time I actually went to sub-Saharan Africa. I went to Kenya in 2008. And it just blew my mind, going back to your question, because it was very different from North Africa or the Middle East. But there was something magical about it, you know. And we went on, so my husband joined me actually for that trip. We went on safari. And then, like, in my mind, I kind of planted the seed, I kind of want to live here. And a few years later, I was able to, and I had to convince my husband. So, because he had to leave his job and everything. So I basically caught him on a really bad day at work that he was like, I hate this job, blah, blah, blah. Made him an amazing meal. And I told him, hey, babe, remember how amazing the safari was in Kenya and how much fun we had? Do you want to do that every weekend? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, they offered me a job in Kenya. You want to move? And he's like, you know what? Fine. And I'm like, really? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, okay.
Done.
So done. So that's kind of how it started. And since then, since I've been working in public health for about a decade now, over a decade, it's really, I have been much more immersed in Africa, both West Africa and a little less Southern Africa. But there's just something about it and the people that it just keeps drawing me there.
Are you going back on any kind of a regular basis now to work with the artisans you work with to get the incredible things you have on your website?
So, well, okay. So, so I leverage, so I work, I have a day job. I work for an affiliate of Johns Hopkins, actually. And giving joy is my passion. And I created that about 2 years ago, more or less. So I leverage, which is it's a social enterprise. And I leverage, a lot of my work trips to for giving joy. That's how I encounter some of the women artisans. Some of them, the ones from Kenya, for example, I knew when I lived there. Some of them were a good friend of mine. Actually, her sister is a fashion designer in Kenya. And so she put me in touch with a number of artisans, the ones that mostly make some of the earrings that are on the website. I was on a work trip in Uganda, so that's how I got some of the things from Uganda. I was in Bangladesh. That's how I got a lot of things from Bangladesh. And I was in Liberia, so that's kind of how I get some of these things. And that's why they're very unique, because they're very, very small women artisans who are doing things who don't sell overseas. And I really like, the thing is, I didn't want the things that were very touristy or very African. You know, what I like are things that have a touch of that that feeling of Africa, but are still quite modern. And so that's kind of the balance that I'm trying to do.
You did it. You
Thank
did
you.
it. That's
Thank
one of
you.
the things I noticed. Now, Joy hasn't told us about her website, but I've been
Yes.
all over it like a maniac because it's number one, it's just so heartwarming. It really is.
Oh,
And
thank you.
it's givingjoygoods.com. And talk about the real special part, which is the grant program. I just loved it.
Thank you. Well, as I said, this is kind of like my project, something I wanted to do for a very, very long time. So even though I work in international development and, doing good in the world, I never felt that like that impact, that direct impact that I could do. And I really want to do something especially for women. Um, and so I thought about it for a long time to do something to really just give kind of an opening and an opportunity for women, because that's what I saw, that a lot of times they just need like a little bit of seed money or a little bit something just to open the door and to build their confidence. So I said, okay, fine, I don't have money to start a foundation because I'm not Melinda Gates, and so what can I do? So I was thinking, okay, then my hairdresser actually came up with the idea, because I would always buy these cute things from different places. And she said, Joy, I would love to buy some of this stuff. Like, she loved my shoes, she loved my bag. And I'm like, really? She said, yeah, I can sell some of this for you here. And so that's how the idea started of getting stuff from different countries. I sold it actually in her hair salon to kind of give it a try, and it worked. So then I said, okay, maybe I have something here. So I started the social enterprise, which is Giving Joy, and the website is givingjoygoods.com. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah.
And basically, again, it's a different type of social enterprise. Most social enterprise, let's say like Tom Shoes or something, they make, either they train women to do something and they sell those goods, or they donate, one shoe for one shoe, but you don't know where it's going. So what I try to do, this is really women helping women, because I'm passing it on. So the money from the purchase of the goods goes towards the grants. And the grants, basically, these are totally different women than who apply on the website. And very easy. You have to be 18 and over. You can have any business idea, for-profit, nonprofit, whatever. You answer a few questions on the website. And then basically we evaluate the application, and I mostly decide who will be shortlisted. And if you are shortlisted, then you're put on the website, and then people who buy on the website are able to vote for the person they want the grant to go to. So it's really personalizing it, and having, actually, you have, as a consumer, Diane, like, you bought something, the power, the purchasing power, literally, to help someone get a grant, and exactly the person that it's going to. So you have a face, and so there's a lot more accountability in that sense. Now, these are small grants. This is like up to $500.
Right.
But I've been amazed at what it can do. And I've given out 18 grants so far.
Wow.
Yeah, in the US, in Kenya, Uganda, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Malawi. And this is all money from me, from people buying and people deciding. Now, I do have to be very honest. Sometimes I do have a little bit of say who gets the grants. But it's been amazing. Like, I'll just give you an example. Just every time, we just awarded new grantees yesterday, and I emailed them, and I talked with one today, because there's actually a grant agreement, and it's performance-based grant. So I don't give them all the money at once. They have to do some of the activities. They have to show that they've done that, and then they have to send a report. So this is some of the things that, from my development side, I know, and so I adapted and adopted all of those good practices for here. So, like, this will be actually close to your heart. So one of the women who won is a horticulturist from
Yeah.
Malawi.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she, and I mean, she cried when she got the grant, and it's $500 to buy a multiplier for banana seeds. Because with COVID, she has now, like, her whole, she used to do consultancies and whatnot. She's very accomplished. Everything has been decimated. And I've been hearing that from so many of the grantees, that their whole livelihoods have just been decimated with COVID. And so this $500 will really be able to jumpstart her business again and give her an opportunity. And it's $500, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, she cried, I cried. It was amazing. But that's that, like, so people say, oh, $500 goes a lot more in Africa. True, but even the ones in the US, I mean, I've gotten some of them, like one of the first women who actually I gave the grant to, she's an artist, and she wanted from Boston, and she wanted actually to enhance her financial management skills because she realized that art is also a business. So she used the $500 to buy QuickBooks and do financial management, like webinars to help her. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it
And
is, because artists really struggle with that.
exactly. And she actually now knows a little, and I helped her also with some grant writing and stuff like that. So, I mean, it just depends what you want to do, or what you can do, and be
The
creative
thing that
with it.
I think I admire and respect is the fact that they are grants, but they're not sort of one way. Here are the steps you have to take. Like any grant we write in academics or professionally, the grants have little accountability steps you have to climb, and the money's not released all at once. It's released sequentially. And I think that that really gives people, women in particular, confidence. Step one, step two, you're not just turned loose with it. You've
Yeah.
really created something very special.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I mean, again, I was for so many, I still am on the other end. I'm the grant writer. I asking for money from others. And so for me, like, and I have to go through all these hoops. So for
Mm-hmm.
me to be on the other side was so gratifying too, to be quite honest with you, to give out money and to be able to not dictate, but to kind of control some of these things that I didn't have control over in my other
Yeah.
day job. So it's very satisfying, and I do think that people also understanding that it's not just throwing money. It's very, there is accountability there. I think people have a lot more confidence in what I'm doing.
It's very different from microloans.
Yeah, yeah.
This is, they don't have to pay it back. It's a grant. It is your money. Here's how it's going
But
to
it's a
be
one-time
administered.
grant.
Mm-hmm.
So they can only apply once. And also people who applied and they didn't get the grant can't apply again.
Okay.
So I did hear some, not rumblings, but I did hear from some past grantees that they said they kind of wanted the grant to be more money and longer term. I ideally would want to as well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my goal for this year actually was to have $1,000 grants. However, with COVID, I mean,
Yeah.
really everything changed and people aren't buying. And I understand that. I'm not buying either.
Yeah.
So the whole aspect of retail really shook up. So all my projections for the year are out the window.
Yeah.
And but actually in that time, I got more applications than ever. I actually get 2 or 3 a day now since April, and mostly from the United States.
When somebody applies for the grant, how do they know the grants are available? How do you communicate that you have this grant program going on? How do they
So
know?
yeah, so it's on my website. Second of all, I do it through social media.
Okay.
I mentioned that it's
Yeah.
open.
That
And
makes
then the
sense.
third way is actually it's on. I always ask in the form that you have to fill out that how did you hear about this?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Most of the ones from overseas are through social media, or a friend told them. Most of the ones in the US are from grantswatch.com.
Oh.
Yeah. And so the majority of them, yeah, so I'm on grantswatch.com, and I'm also on a couple of listservs in Massachusetts for nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
So initially I was putting that there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have you're a .com currently. You're a
Yes, I
for-profit
am.
currently. And are you sort of entertaining the thought of going nonprofit? In other words, could my company make a donation to you when you're a nonprofit that would feed into your foundation? You're building towards a foundation, I'm thinking.
Yes. So just again to back up a little bit, I decided I was when I was creating Giving Joy, I was debating if it should be for a nonprofit. Working in nonprofits for so long and also helping other nonprofits, I know how hard it is with the board and the bylaws and all of that. And you kind of lose a little bit of control when
No
you have
kidding.
to do that. And I didn't want that. I wanted to do my own thing and be my own, everything, and for better or for worse. And so that's why I decided to do it as an LLC, even though basically it is a nonprofit. I mean, everything I make goes back into the grants or buying more things. Yeah. So that gave me just the flexibility and the freedom to just be me, myself, and I, and do everything, because I do everything, which is good and bad, depends what day you ask me. But so I have been debating actually very recently to convert it to a nonprofit, which would allow me to get donations and do fundraising and whatnot, and then have the retail step aside, or do a lot less with the retail. So this is my COVID thinking, to be honest. I think we all have to pivot and think differently. So another thing that I'm doing, next year in January, I'm going to decide if I do that change or not, and I will definitely let you know. And it
Yeah.
depends on for actually the fall and the holiday season, which is the largest retail season. I'm actually cooperating with another small women-owned business in Massachusetts called Abroad Modern. They're on abroadmodern.com. And she and the founder and CEO, her name is Greer Goodman, and she and I actually met when we had both pop-up shops in the same place. And she gets all her goods from India, and she actually sponsors a family in India that they're the ones that actually collect all the stuff and send to her. And her emphasis is actually on modern utility tools. So things that, like kitchenware and stuff for the house, but that are modern, but with a cultural twist. So kind of like what I'm doing with accessories, but she's doing for home goods. So I actually so we decided a long time that we wanted to do something together. We're not combining our entities. We just have a partnership, but you will see our next collection actually will be home goods and much less jewelry and accessories, and they will be from India and Rwanda and Uganda.
That is really exciting.
Yeah. And we also, because we thought, now that people are more at home, people really
Exactly.
are looking at things to like make their home nicer. And jewelry and accessories, nobody's really buying now. So that's kind of the plan. So we hope, fingers crossed, that works.
I like it. I
And
like it.
and we'll let you know if that works. She also has a physical store in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So we're going to sell through her physical store and her website. My website will be tied to hers, but people will still be able, if they buy on her website, they'll still be able to vote for Giving Joy grantees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're working on that right now as we speak. If
Mm-hmm.
that collaboration is successful, we will probably next year emerge into one organization.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work out because the world is crazy, then my plan is probably to transition to a nonprofit.
How many people applied in this round where we have these 4 grantees? How many applications did you have?
Yeah, over the top of my head, I think I had 30 something.
That's really incredible.
It's very hard for me to shortlist them, Diane.
I can imagine. The diversity of the grant winners is incredible, and I think the one that touched me most, and I think it's Indianapolis. It's the little Timmy project.
Yes.
I mean, that was just like, oh my God, how this woman took her grief from the loss of her 5-week-old boy to SIDS and did this amazing thing. The resiliency of women never ceases to amaze me.
No. And though actually the Little Timmy project, they really rallied. They understood what they needed to do to win. And so she, the CEO, her name's Katie, I forgot her last name, but
Kirkhoff.
She rallied. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I've got it right here.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. I thought
no worries. No worries. Anyway, she really rallied, and she really she, what's the word I'm looking for? She like instigated her Instagram big time and Facebook, and was just like pounding, buy on Giving Joy, buy on Giving Joy. Like she got it. She understood. So she really mobilized her community, and they bought, and that's how she got votes. And, you know, to be quite honest, maybe I shouldn't tell you the secret, but I would have given them a grant anyway.
But that was good for them to exercise that grassroots support.
Very much so. Very much so. And that is the intention. And they got it like that.
Yeah.
Others, so I keep on telling them, look, the grants are awarded based on your alignment with the mission of Giving Joy, but more so with the number of votes you get.
Wow.
Because that's the way that I make money, like people buying. So, and it also gives, again, power to the people. So, yeah, the Little Timmy I mean, again, it's heartbreak. I mean, every time I get these applications, I cry. And some of them I have to say no, because sometimes it's really abstract what they want to use the money for, or, you know, so I do go back and I ask them a lot more questions sometimes when I'm not sure, not clear, or sometimes the beneficiaries are not women or girls. Like sometimes there were applicants who had dog shelters. Now I love dogs, but that's, you know, the beneficiaries are pets and not people.
Right. Absolutely.
And so for me, it's just not my priority.
Yeah.
So those kind of things that I also have to be aware of. Now, going back to what you said about accountability, Diane, having worked in international development for so long, I also kind of know where the fraud is. And they were actually 3 or 4 NGOs that were fraudulent, that applied for grants that weren't real. Yeah. So I do a lot of due diligence and kind of poke around and even ask like people that I know in that country, do you know this organization? Do you, like unofficially, like in Nigeria, I used to live in Nigeria, and there was this guy actually that I did shortlist now. And I wasn't sure about him. And so they verified that, yeah, he's totally legit. He's a very famous photographer, blah, blah, blah. And then in Uganda, actually 2 organizations sent me the exact same application. Exactly the same, like cut and paste exactly. So I basically emailed both of them. I told them, you may think I'm stupid white person, but this is ridiculous. And I, you know, basically you both are not going to get shortlisted. And I'm going to disseminate this to others so they know that you guys are fraudulent.
What can you do? Can you put that up on the Grant Watch thing and say, watch out for this this proposal?
No. I mean, these were from
But it
Uganda.
sounds good.
So these were basically, it was very interesting because one of them didn't come back to me at all. The other one pleaded with me and basically said, no, we're friends. And, we just shared so we could help them. And I told them, I'm sorry, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
If I was any other donor, they would never accept it.
Yeah, I not only read your information about your grant winners, when it was possible, I went to their website and looked at what they're doing, watched the videos. Particularly, I was really taken by Meavy Farms.
Yeah.
They're growing the potatoes in the bags. And the one woman who said, I don't have land. I can't have a garden because I don't have land. And so they can do it in bags. And I thought, this is, again, it's back to my observations over years at the absolute resiliency of women, figuring out how to do it. Okay, because that's what we always have to do. We always have to figure out, okay, how do we do it?
We get shit done.
We get shit done. And I was so impressed by that idea that anyone can have a garden. You can put it, next to the stove. Who cares? Your people who are your applicants and your winners are just astonishing people.
Thank you,
Really,
Diane.
really
I know
astonishing people.
That's what keeps me going, even
Yeah.
though the past few months have been very, very difficult. And even though I basically this is a charity now,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but I cannot stop doing this because I see the need. And, again, this is small money but it still has such an impact. And so, so if I, in my little way, can help someone make their life better, then why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you see yourself in say, which we can't say in a year because we don't know. We could still be in the house at the end of the year, the way things are
Yeah,
going.
that's true.
But what would you like to see Giving Joy evolve into beyond the merging with the Indian arts? What would you really? You talked about $1,000. What would you like to do? What would you, if failure was not an option, as they say?
Well, if I had my wish, I would rather not do retail and just be able to have money to give out 4 grant cycles a year, because that's easy to administer as well. And give potentially, between $1,000 and let's say $5,000. But then I would be much more picky with who I would give.
Well, yeah. So is that a foundation? You would talk about building a foundation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The retail, I don't really like. I mean, I like buying stuff, don't get me wrong. I mean, for myself. Believe me, I know how to spend money.
Yeah.
But I love going and traveling and buying stuff, which you can't do right now. But the retail itself is very, very taxing, and it's not really something that I enjoy, and I don't know many people who do. But I mean, it's a means to a different end. It's not, I'm not in the retail for retail. I'm in the retail to have money to make the grants. So they've been many days. For example, last year I was doing markets and I was on a market for 8 hours and nobody bought, and that's so depressing.
Oh, I have been there.
Yeah. But what like keeps me going, and again, is when I get these amazing applications from these amazing women from around the world that are doing phenomenal things, have phenomenal ideas. So I keep going.
Yeah. Keep going. Definitely keep
Thank
going.
you.
I'm excited about the idea of your building a foundation. That sounds like a very, very smart direction and goal. I wish you well. It's just wonderful. And you guys, you've got to see what she has on her website, givingjoygoods.com. I got the coolest, it's a the purse, probably it's a small purse, African fabric, but it has a black Levi's, black jeans pocket sewn on front, which is perfect for my phone. And it's little and it's all absolutely.
It's basically a travel bag, like it's a cross bag. So
I
that
love it.
actually was made from recycled materials.
I love it. Even
Yeah.
more love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they take, I forgot the name of the company that makes those in Uganda, but basically, so they take little scraps and make different things out of them. Again, to be honest, I'm not working with them anymore because it was very difficult to work with them. There's some artisans for some reason that I don't know if they don't want to make money or not. I'm not sure, but they either like vanish, don't get back to you, or they send you subpar things. And so I just don't work with them anymore. I'm not, if I don't have to beg you to sell me
Right.
things.
Right.
And again, I buy everything. So whatever I don't sell is my loss.
Can you post it up on Etsy or something afterward? Can you do something like that?
I could. I haven't gotten to that stage yet, but
Yeah.
I may. I mean, I don't buy large
I was
quantities.
going to say, I can't imagine you have cartons of stuff around.
No, no, no,
That's
no, no,
too
no,
cool.
no. I buy small quantities. But I do have things, from, because again, I was hoping this year would be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have things left over. So maybe I have to think what I'll do with them. Yeah, we'll see. And also we'll see with this next collection of home goods that we're going to do, how that goes too.
And Matt, you're aiming at the holidays for that, right? You're aiming for, okay.
So there's going to be, so since you bought something, Diana, you're actually going to get my newsletter, and I think you
Good.
probably already get it. Yeah. So we will also post it obviously on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm giving Joy Goods on Facebook and Instagram, and also through
I'm
our
following you.
newsletter. That when we will actually have our fall and holiday collection, it will actually be in mid-September. We're going to start with some of the things that we have, and then through October and so on, we're getting more things and more holiday related things like ornaments and whatnot. But I'm really excited because the things are super, super cool. Like, we got these amazing baskets from Rwanda, and planters and coasters and stuff like that. Just gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful. And also ornaments from there. And from India, we have beautiful copper water bottles, linens. We're getting terracotta pitchers and pots and stuff like that. Basically, I want everything for my own house, to be quite honest.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I know. So we've been excited. It's been good to have a partner in crime too. It's very hard to do this all alone. So It's been good for both of us, that we've had someone, especially in this challenging time. And we'll see if it goes well. But all bets are off, Diane. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen.
Which leads me to my request. I'd like to invite you back in January or February to talk about how it went.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
But just to take away, know that I admire what you're doing tremendously, and say, keep on. I love it.
Thank you,
Joy.
Thank you, Diane. This has been great.
Yeah, it's easy. I have one final question for you. I always forget it. I get so excited in what we're talking about that I forget. If you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who would you like to have dinner with?
I think Desmond Tutu.
All right.
Yeah. I'm still a peacenik at heart. I still, ultimately, I have a to-do list for life. It's on my phone, actually. And I add stuff and cross things out all the time. And some things are very big and some things are very small. But one of them is to get the Nobel Peace Prize. So
why not?
I'm still waiting. I need to be nominated. I need to do something to get it. Right?
Well, if you have it on your list, that keeps it front of mind and you can focus better.
That's true.
All right.
Well, thank you, Diane. It was great to meet you.
It was great to meet you too. And I'm just so delighted. Thank you for taking that time. And I know the time frames are weird. And thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're
Thank
doing.
you, Diane, for what you're doing too. And yeah, I look forward to staying in touch with you too.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do
Okay,
that. All right. Bye.
bye.